Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Allison Lester, an assistant teaching professor at Arizona State University, and I teach at the intersection of action research, open pedagogy, and AI. And today, I want to share a story from my classroom about what happens when students take the lead in shaping how AI is used in our learning. So before I even dive in, I see lightning talks as conversation starters. What I'll share today is just a snapshot from my classroom, an invitation to go deeper. So my hope is that we connect after this, maybe on LinkedIn or over virtual coffee, and continue the conversation about what it means for students to co-author AI policies, build custom GPTs, and create resources we can share openly as guides and frameworks for practice. So think of this as the beginning of a longer dialogue between you and I. The question guiding my work is, what does it mean to keep open education open when AI enters the classroom? This is an ongoing inquiry I'm holding, no definitive answers. Instead, what I can share are stories from my students experimenting, building, and holding these tensions with me. One turning point was when I asked myself, what happens when students and I share power to co-create our AI policy together? Could policy itself become a site of open learning? This inquiry emerged in my undergraduate action research course, where students develop solutions to complex problems on ASU's campus and community. Student projects in the course lead to real, tangible impact. And because the nature of the course is rooted in a collaborative social change paradigm, I wanted to ensure that students felt they could co-create, co-author our classroom rules and policies. This is how it started. A student asked me, "Dr. Lester, what's your AI policy?" And I realized if I handed my students an AI policy in the syllabus, I'd be modeling the same top-down authority I asked them to critique in their own action research. So instead of a top-down approach, rules written by me, we took a bottom-up approach, co-creating the policy together. That shift opened space for student agency, critical thinking, and shared responsibility. So I asked students, what would it mean to write this policy together? This became our starting point for inquiry and collaboration. And here's what struck me. Every single student in that room told me they had never been asked to write an AI policy before. Policies were always handed down to them. This was the first time they were invited to step into authorship, to co-create the rules that would shape their learning. And that shift from compliance to co-creation completely changed the energy in the room. Students voiced their excitement, their caution, their resistance around AI. One student said, "It helps me brainstorm. It helps me get unstuck." Another said, "I don't want it doing the thinking for me." These hopes and boundaries shaped our shared principles. We also surfaced deeper ethical questions. Students asked, if generative AI is trained on stolen labor and uncredited data, are we complicit by using it? Can we really use it without losing our own voices? Can we justify its environmental costs knowing the massive energy and water use behind every model run? And what does authorship mean when humans and machines collaborate? So we sat, slowed down time, and made space for these questions. We didn't solve these tensions. Instead, we learned to sit with the ambiguity, with the uncertainty, with the discomfort of wrestling the dilemmas themselves. The act of holding open questions rather than rushing to fix them and find solutions became one of the most powerful parts of our practice. Together, we created a set of living principles. Our voices come first. AI is a tool, not a replacement. Reflect before you generate. Name the risks. No copy and paste thinking. Cite AI use. It wasn't a list I wrote and handed down. It was something they authored together, debated, revised, and owned. And what mattered most was not the words on the slide, but the way those principles worked in practice. When dilemmas came up later in the semester, which they did, students actually returned to the policy. They used it as an anchor to help them navigate gray areas and decide together what felt ethical and responsible. Our policy became an openly shared resource, something students could adapt and negotiate and discuss in real time. After our AI policy was developed, which took about 4 weeks, new questions emerged. If we can co-create a policy, can we also co-create the tools? And how can we use our AI policy to help us build AI tools for our research? With ASU's ChatGPT EDU, which is FERPA safe, students worked in groups to define their GPT, its tone, its boundaries, and the kinds of support it should provide. The GPT they built could role play with stakeholders, review grant proposals, serve as a contrarian thinker to help sharpen their thinking, visualize prototypes, and even assist with data analysis. As students used the GPT they built, we held AI ethics as an ongoing practice, protecting sensitive data. For example, when one team debated whether to upload interview transcripts, we paused and asked, what's too personal? What belongs in the GPT and what doesn't? That decision-making moment matters as much as the tool itself. We also verified outputs for accuracy. GPTs make mistakes. They hallucinate. One group noticed their bot missed a key mental health theme in participant interviews. We slowed down, compared its analysis with their own, and debated what was lost. That became a live case study in accuracy and interpretation. And it's probably no surprise we had ongoing ethical discussions. These questions didn't happen once. They came up again and again, and each time we circled back to our co-created AI policy. It gave us an anchor, a shared reference point when things got complicated. These moments turned into learning experiences. Students sharpened their critical thinking and awareness of AI by wrestling with the dilemmas that emerged in their own projects. It felt real and relevant because it was. It was their projects that had community impact. It was their GPT that was supporting them. Students then apply these practices to their action research projects. And these are just a few examples of what emerged from the course. Designing campus-wide culture belonging initiatives, creating AI-supported housing lease assessments for affordability and transparency, redesigning shade structures to improve public spaces. Each of these projects look different, but together they show how open and participatory approaches ripple outward into real-world impact, which is the goal of this course. What we created were guides, frameworks, and prototypes. What's to come is to finalize these materials and share on open source platforms. How to co-create an AI policy with students, how to build GPTs in the classroom, and even student project resources. We intend to share these resources openly so others can adapt and remix them. So what does it mean to keep open education open in an age of AI? For me, it means inviting students to shape the norms and tools with the goals to share a process publicly. And more to come. Thank you for listening to my lightning talk. Let's continue the conversation. Here's my email, LinkedIn, and website. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.